Welcome back to RBD Block Challenge. I'm Cindy Cloward, and today we are working on block number 3. It's designed by Cherry Goodry, and it is called Starry Bloom. This is what it looks like in our confetti cottons, and this is what it looks like in our beautiful hand-dyed batiks. So let's get started on this block. It's got a nice bloom in the center, thus you get the starry bloom. And as always, it's a free download on the Riley Blake Designs website. There are 2 pages. And let's get started with the first step, which we're going to do strip piecing. So I've got all my pieces here. I got a few step outs today to show you, give some examples, and we are going to start working on the strips. So let me grab my glasses, and we're going to strip piece. You've done this before. We're taking our A and our G, and you'll notice that they're different widths, and that is just how they should be. So I am going to give them a press at our pressing station to give it a temporary heat adhesive. You're welcome to pin these. Sometimes it's easy to give them a pin, throw a few pins in here, but I'm just gonna go with the temporary heat adhesive, and let's just lay this out. Here we go. Okay, I've got my 60 weight thread and I'm sewing at a 2.0. I've found that to be about the best stitch length with the 60 weight thread. You can stitch at 1.85 because that's recommended too, but I really like this stitch length. And so that's what I'm doing without this, throughout this sew along. Okay, let's take it to our pressing station. I'm going to press to the dark side. Okay, we're ready to cut our pieces. Refer to your pattern. We need 2 inches by 3 inches. So you can give this a quick measure. Make sure it's measuring 3 inches. If it's a little short, you need to check your seam allowance or your cutting, but it should measure side to side 3 inches. And now I'm gonna start with the straight cut. And we're gonna do 4 2-inch cuts. So it'll be by 2 by 3. Next thing, you're gonna measure 5.5 inches. So this is actually my ruler size. So 5.5 side by side, and we're gonna cut 4 of those. And this is gonna be the base of our flying geese units. We'll throw that extra away. So we've got these units right here, 4 of these units, and I do have a few of my step outs, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to create. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to create this unit right here. Then we'll move on to our flying geese here, and then we'll work on our snowballs last before we start assembling our block. So let's work on this unit right here. We've already got this stripped piece and cut, so we need our B rectangles. Got our B rectangles, and they just go on top. We are going to make 4 of these. So right sides together, and we're just going to chain piece these all at once. Okay, we'll clip our threads in between. We'll take it to our pressing station. And let's press them. Well, I kind of give them a quick press, warm up those threads. Put them on my clapper, let them cool down just a bit. Bring them back here, and these 4 units are done. These are the units that go on the corners of our block here. So those are ready to go. We're gonna put those to the side. Got an extra one here. And I do have 3 other step outs. So I'm just gonna show you how to do one of these flying geese units. And again, you just chain piece all 4 at a time, but I'm just gonna show you one at a time. So you've got, this is your base rectangle, and you're gonna need to grab these these are C squares. So you're gonna need 2 for each of your flying geese units. Now, if you don't have a Seam So Easy guide, you're going to mark corner to corner on both of these squares, and that is going to be your sew line. And pay attention to where you put it on this bottom base unit, because this green is going to be larger than this cream right here. Flying geese is flying into the center, so you need to pay attention which way this direction of this marked square is going. So it goes right here, starting on the cream, out to the green. And I am going to take this to my machine. I'm going to bring my other square, and you are going to sew corner to corner on that line. And if you want to just do a skosh slightly on the line to the outside, that is preferred over going inside the line and making your rectangle short. And I always like to start in the middle of the flying geese, not in a corner. Sometimes that corner can get sucked into your machine, so I always like to start in the middle. Again, I'm just doing 1 flying geese at a time. You're going to chain piece all your flying geese, make a look, make sure that's the direction it's going, and I'm going to trim down 1/4 inch. I'm going to take it to my pressing station. Press that open, and if you've got your other marked square, that is going to go from this center out to the corner. Mine is not marked because I am going to use my Seam So Easy guide this time. First, you line up the tip to the corner of the square here, and then you just line up the corner of the square on the bottom right there. All right, let's trim that down to 1/4 inch. There we go. Let's press it. And we've got our flying geese unit. You're gonna repeat that so you have 4 of these units. And that is this unit on the block. Okay, let's go to our snowballs right here. So I'm gonna put that to the side. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. You've got a light pink square, and then you've got these darker pink at 3 corners, and then 1 of these yellow G squares. So grab 1 G and 4 or 3 D for 1 square. I'm just gonna make 1 square on camera, save time, and then you have a larger E square. So if you don't have a Seam So Easy guide, you're gonna mark those corner to corner. Those are gonna be that is gonna be your sew line. I'm just gonna work on each of these squares going around in a circle. But you're gonna chain piece them all at once because you've got 4 to do. I've just got 1. Okay, that's what it looks like after it's all sewn. We're going to trim down to 1/4 inch. And well, it's always a good idea to use a rotating mat to save time. Especially if you have 4 of these to trim down, you can just move around the circle. Okay, you're going to have 4 units that look like this. Now I've got my 3 other units here, and let's take it to the pressing station. I'm going to talk about pressing. Okay, because we love to nest our seams, we are going to press 2 of the units going towards the center. So I'm going to press that going to the center, and then 2, the seams will be pressed to the outside. So I've already pressed these going to the outside. I'm going to give them another little press. They naturally want to go to the outside, so you're going to have to just kind of work it a little bit to go to the inside. I've already pressed those seams to go to the inside, because normally you just flip it out, and that's really easy to press them out. If you want to press them in, I do sometimes add a little spray starch, and I've already warmed up my stitches a little bit, and then I just kind of work around my square like that, pressing them towards the center before I give the whole unit a big press. Okay, so I press from the outside like that, and then I'm going to press these seams, really press those nice and flat, and make sure there's no bunch under the seam. So this one takes a little bit longer, but that's what it's going to look like. These 2 are pressed to the center, and these are pressed to the outside. So let's take it back here, and we are going to start assembling our block. I am going to check these to just make sure they're 3 inches square, and they're looking good. Check one more. Yeah, they're looking good. You can check them all, but I'm pretty confident they're where they need to be. So we're going to work on assembling this blossom unit right now. So let me put this away, and we're going to pair up our seams going to the center with our seams going to the outside, and the yellows are going to touch. So these are going opposite, and so they nest beautifully. And that's what we want to do right now, is we want to nest our seams. And I just pin those seams. And if they don't line up perfectly, that's when you're going to do a little tug when you sew. You're going to tug those. Okay, let's go sew. All right, let's clip our threads in between, and let's open them up and take a look. This is exactly what we want to see, because we nested our seams. We have this nice little point right here, and it looks great. So we need to put these 2 units together, and you can just nest those seams again. They naturally want to fall that direction. So I'm going to pin in the center, and then I'm going to nest the other 4 seams. And I always pin my nested seams, again with a Riley Blake Designs bird pin, They just are the perfect pin to nest your seams, right? Okay. Those are all lining up really well. One last pin. Let's take it to the machine and sew. Okay, let's take it to our pressing station. I'm going to give it a little spray start. Press from the back side. And then let's open it up. Okay, you can flip your seams here so it lies a little bit flatter. So one of those seams go one direction and the other one goes the other direction. Just kind of open those seams up with the threads in the middle. Do you see how I did that? And then flip those two seams. You got a little four patch in the middle, and then you flip it over and give it a nice press. There is a lot of little pieces converging together. So make sure you cut accurately and you're sewing accurately, but this is what we want to see. We want to see a little square in the center, and we've got our blossom. Let's take it back to our cutting station right here, and we should measure that and make sure it's 5.5 inches, and it is 5.5 inches. There's a few threads hanging out on the side. I'm just going to trim them off, but this is good to go. Now we can start assembling the rest of the block with our pieces that we have finished. So I'm going to put these to the side. We only need 4 of these. We've got those 4. These are extra because I made step outs today. And I'm going to grab 4 of these other units right here. So we've got 4 of these units. Well, let's grab our little stickers, put them to the side. We've got 4 of these units. Those are our quarter units. And we've got our center unit that we've just added to. We just finished our center unit. So we've got our flying geese flying to the center right here. And what I find really interesting about this block is it's like a framed star. It looks like you've got this continuous green, that really pretty olive green around the outside edge. So it's a really beautiful look. So I'm going to sew this down the side like that. And when I sew down the side with the flying geese, I always like to sew with the flying geese up top to make sure I don't cut off my point. You can choose to pin. I am going to like pin the center of this. And what you want to do, I kind of do this little peekaboo and just make sure that that tip is lined up with the center of that seam, that center seam there, and that looks good right there. And if I didn't mention before, I don't think I did, you make sure your flying geese has that 1/4 inch from the tip to the outside edge, so you've got a full 1/4 inch when you're sewing. You're not gonna sew off your tip. So let's take it to our machine. I'm gonna sew down the side, chain piecing this together. All right, I don't clip my threads in between at this stage, and I open it up, and that's exactly what I want to see. That point of my flying geese right lined up with the center of this unit right here. So that's good to go. We're gonna flip the other side over, and I'm gonna rotate this design board to sew from the other side, and then I pin at the top. This one I'm gonna pin at the top and also that center. Well, I'm gonna pin at the center first. So again, that just a little peekaboo, looking at the tip of that flying geese unit. That's lined up, that's just what we wanna see. I'm also gonna pin that right here. And this bottom one here. Okay, let's sew this other side. All right, I don't clip my threads in between, everything's attached, and we've got 2 more seams. Again, it gives you an opportunity to look at your points, and those are lining up really beautifully. Okay, we're gonna flip over the top. We're gonna nest those seams. This center unit, I'm gonna have it flipped out. So that means that this long unit, I am going to flip in. Again, we're just gonna nest those seams there. I'm gonna line up that point of my flying geese unit, put a pin in there, and I'm going to do this side as well. Nest that seam on that other side. Do the same thing on this side. I pin them both at the same time, and then I'm going to sew my 2 seams when I'm at the machine. Again, that's gonna stay out. Okay, off we go to our pressing station. I'm giving that a nice spritz. Just giving it a press from the back side, warming up those stitches. And then we're gonna have the big reveal, right? Let's open it up. And we just take your time pressing out this block. Just take your time. Okay, once you've given that a really good press, you can use this large clapper. And then let's give it a look. All right, let's take a look. We're gonna need to square this up, but this is just what I wanna see. I wanna see a continuous line, so it looks like it's framed, and it looks like it's in the right spot on both sides of those points. So that is looking good. So like always, I'm gonna grab my 10.5-inch square up ruler and just see how everything's lining up, see if I need to trim on the outside. What we really want to see is a 1/4 inch on all of these points, so when we put this block together, none of those points get cut off in our seam. And I'm taking a look, it's looking really good. Everything's lining up. I'm gonna just look at it on this side, and I'm not gonna do any trimming. If anything, it's like slightly pulled in. There was a lot of seams, and when it's slightly pulled in, if it's only slightly, you just give it a little tug when you're assembling it in the quilt, and it'll be great. And this block is finished. Again, it's called Starry Bloom by Cherry Goodry, and Cherry's gonna create her own block in her own fabrics. That'll be a lot of fun to see what it looks like in different fabrics. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. Join me next time for our next RBD block challenge, where we'll be working on block number 4, and it's called Ribbon Star by Fran Gulick.